There are moments in a believer's journey when the true depth of their faith isn't revealed through loud declarations or grand gestures, but through quiet obedience. The silent test of obedience is often the most powerful and the most revealing. It doesn't come with warning signs or applause, it arrives disguised as an ordinary decision, a subtle choice, a fleeting moment that determines where your heart truly stands. This morning was one of those moments for you. The world didn't see it, no one clapped, and yet the heavens paused to take note. In that instant, your soul faced a divine test that measured your priorities, your integrity, and your devotion to the one who sees all. The chosen ones often walk through these silent tests, because God doesn't need to test your strength in front of people, He tests it in the stillness where only He can see. It's easy to say that God comes first when life feels smooth and blessings flow effortlessly. But the true mark of devotion appears when everything within you wants to choose the easy way, and yet you choose the way of righteousness. The silent test of obedience reveals not only what you believe but who you truly are when no one is watching. You may not realize how significant that moment was, but the spiritual realm did. Angels stood as witnesses, and your decision echoed like a declaration of faith in unseen places. God doesn't test to break you, He tests to reveal you to yourself, to heaven, and to every force that doubted your commitment. The chosen ones are refined through obedience, not comfort. The fire doesn't destroy them, it purifies them until their faith shines like gold. Obedience is never convenient. It often asks you to give up something that your flesh desires. It asks for patience when you want speed, for silence when you want to defend yourself, for faith when you see no evidence. This morning, your obedience was not a coincidence, it was a confirmation. It showed that your connection with God has moved beyond emotion into alignment. You didn't just obey out of fear, you obeyed out of love. You didn't do it because you wanted recognition, you did it because your spirit understands that pleasing God is worth more than pleasing people. Every chosen one reaches a point where their loyalty is tested not through big trials but through quiet obedience, and that's where destiny begins to unfold. The silent test of obedience exposes the heart. God doesn't ask for your perfection, He asks for your surrender. And when you choose to obey even when it costs you something, heaven begins to rearrange things in your favor. The test was never about what you were giving up, it was about what you were ready to receive. Every act of obedience releases a ripple effect in the spiritual dimension. The doors that were once locked start to move, and the plans that were delayed begin to align. Obedience opens what prayer alone cannot, because it proves that your faith has matured. The enemy can imitate blessings, but he cannot imitate obedience. That's why the chosen ones are set apart, not because they are flawless, but because their hearts are tuned to the will of God even when it hurts. There's something divine about doing the right thing when no one will ever know. It's a conversation between your soul and heaven. It's where true character is formed. God looks at that quiet yes in your heart and begins to work miracles you didn't even pray for. He sees you when you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, when you choose discipline over comfort, when you choose truth over popularity. Those are the moments when your name is whispered in heaven, when angels are dispatched to guard your path, and when destiny begins to accelerate. This morning's obedience might seem small, but in the kingdom of God, nothing done out of love for Him is ever small. The silent test is often disguised as inconvenience. It comes when you're tired, when you're emotionally drained, when the world seems unfair. That's when God quietly asks, "Will you still choose me?" And when you answer with your actions, not your words, something shifts in the atmosphere. Your obedience becomes a spiritual weapon. It confuses the enemy because he expected you to fold, to choose comfort, to doubt. Instead, you rose above it, proving that your faith is not dependent on circumstances. This is how the chosen ones gain authority in the spirit realm, through consistent obedience in the unseen moments. Every small act of faith adds up until it builds an unshakable foundation that no storm can destroy. The silent test of obedience also builds spiritual confidence. You begin to trust God more deeply because you've experienced His faithfulness through your choices. You've seen that obedience never leaves you empty, it always leads to greater strength, deeper peace, and unseen favor. The chosen ones understand that obedience isn't about control, it's about alignment. When your spirit aligns with God's will, everything else begins to fall into place. It's no longer about what you lose, it's about what you gain by staying true to divine instruction. The world may call it sacrifice, but heaven calls it preparation. You are being prepared for greater things, and every act of obedience is a step toward that promise. You proved something powerful in the silence. You proved that your faith is real. You didn't need validation, approval, or an audience. You simply obeyed. And that single act carries more spiritual weight than 1,000 words. God delights in that kind of heart, the heart that says yes when it would be easier to say no, the heart that trusts even when it doesn't understand. That's the heart of a chosen one, the kind of person heaven can trust with purpose, influence, and divine power. The silent test of obedience is never wasted. It's the foundation upon which miracles are built, the unseen battle that secures visible blessings, and the ultimate proof that your devotion to God is genuine and unwavering. There are divine moments in life when your faithfulness opens doors you didn't even know existed, when your quiet devotion speaks so loudly in the spiritual realm that heaven itself begins to move. Your faithfulness this morning didn't go unnoticed. It wasn't a routine act or a small moment of discipline, it was a declaration that you trust God above everything else. When you placed Him first, before your comfort, your desires, or your distractions, something powerful began to stir in the unseen. Every time a chosen one proves their loyalty to God through faithfulness, divine favor is activated. It's not just a blessing, it's a release of spiritual energy that begins to rearrange circumstances, shift timelines, and unlock what was once impossible. Heaven doesn't respond to empty promises, it responds to consistent obedience. And this morning, your faithfulness called heaven into motion. The spiritual realm operates on the principle of alignment. When your actions align with divine will, supernatural favor is released. Your faithfulness was the key that turned in the lock, opening doors that prayer alone could not. You see, many people pray for blessings, but not everyone lives in a way that sustains them. The chosen ones are different. Their faith isn't seasonal, it's steadfast. They don't wait for the perfect moment to obey, they obey, and the moment becomes perfect. When you chose to honor God with your time, your focus, your heart, heaven took note. The favor that's now being released over your life isn't random, it's earned through devotion. You've proven that your faith is not about convenience but about covenant, and that kind of faithfulness cannot go unrewarded. God's favor often moves quietly at first. It begins as a shift in the atmosphere around you. Things that once resisted start to yield. Paths that seemed blocked begin to clear. Opportunities begin to appear without explanation. That's the nature of divine favor, it works behind the scenes long before it becomes visible. This morning's faithfulness might have seemed like a simple act of obedience, but in the realm of the Spirit, it was a key turning in the right direction. God saw the sacrifice, the discipline, the decision you made to put Him above all else, and He responded. Every time you choose faith over fear, consistency over compromise, heaven sends reinforcement. You may not see the full picture yet, but the energy you released through obedience has already begun to attract divine acceleration. Faithfulness isn't just about showing up, it's about showing up with the right heart. It's about trusting God even when the outcome is unclear. It's about doing the right thing without seeking applause or recognition. When you made that decision this morning, you aligned yourself with the frequency of divine favor. Heaven operates on spiritual laws, and faithfulness is one of the highest forms of worship. It tells God that He can trust you with more, because you are loyal in little. The chosen ones often carry heavy assignments, but their consistency is what sustains them. You have demonstrated that you're not moved by emotions or situations, you're moved by purpose. That's why heaven responds differently to you. In every spiritual journey, there comes a moment when your faithfulness becomes the turning point. It's the invisible moment when destiny begins to accelerate. What you did today may seem small in the physical world, but in the spiritual dimension, it was monumental. Faithfulness carries authority. It gives you access to blessings that are protected by obedience. When God sees your commitment, He begins to command favor to follow you. You don't have to chase opportunities, they begin to chase you. That's the beauty of divine favor, it flows where faithfulness dwells. The chosen ones walk in that flow not because they're lucky, but because they've proven that God comes first in every decision. Divine favor is not random, it's intentional. It's the response of heaven to a life that consistently honors God. The reason your faithfulness activated favor this morning is because it demonstrated your readiness. God cannot bless what is not prepared. Through your obedience, you showed that your heart is mature enough to handle what He wants to give you. Faithfulness trains your spirit, disciplines your mind, and strengthens your will. It keeps you grounded when blessings increase and humble when recognition comes. The chosen ones are entrusted with greater responsibility because they've learned that faithfulness in private brings elevation in public. The way you responded today set a spiritual precedent for the next season of your life. What you may not realize is that divine favor doesn't just bless you, it protects you. When heaven recognizes your faithfulness, it surrounds you with grace that shields you from unnecessary battles. Doors that could lead to distraction are quietly closed, while those that align with your purpose are opened. Divine favor isn't always loud, sometimes it's a quiet shift that keeps you from walking into something that wasn't meant for you. This morning's faithfulness sent a clear message to heaven and to every opposing force: your heart belongs to God, and your path is under divine control. You are now walking under a covering that few understand but many will soon witness. Faithfulness also attracts divine partnerships. When you stay loyal to God's plan, He sends people who carry the same spiritual frequency, people who will help you, not hinder you, uplift you, not drain you. The energy of obedience always draws alignment. This morning's act was not just a test, it was an activation. God is orchestrating divine connections, opportunities, and favor because He can trust you to handle them. Your faithfulness didn't just open one door, it triggered a chain reaction of blessings waiting for your readiness. Faithfulness may not always feel rewarding in the moment, but it always produces results that go beyond what you can see. The chosen ones often sow in silence, but they reap in divine abundance. Every time you choose consistency, you are building spiritual credibility. Heaven begins to recognize your name as one who can be trusted with destiny. And when that happens, favor doesn't just visit, it abides. This morning's faithfulness proved that your loyalty to God is not seasonal or situational, it's rooted in truth, endurance, and genuine devotion. It is the kind of faith that moves mountains, shifts realities, and calls divine favor into existence in ways words alone never could. Every moment of your life is a reflection of what holds the highest place in your heart. The chosen ones understand this truth deeply, and they live by it. Heaven does not reward busyness, noise, or empty pursuit, it rewards alignment. When you choose to put God first, above everything the world tries to offer, you set in motion a divine exchange that transcends human understanding. This morning, your decision to prioritize God over distractions didn't just show faith, it demonstrated spiritual maturity. It revealed that your heart has reached a level of surrender where nothing else competes with His presence. Heaven watches those moments carefully, because they separate the faithful from the distracted, the devoted from the divided, and the chosen from the ordinary. In a world filled with constant noise, distractions, and endless temptations, choosing God first becomes an act of spiritual warfare. Every time you wake up and give Him your attention before the world claims it, you declare that your loyalty belongs to heaven. The enemy works tirelessly to capture your focus, because he knows that whatever has your focus has your future. But when you fix your eyes on God, you place yourself under divine protection and clarity. The chosen ones have learned that spiritual victory doesn't always come through battles fought with swords, it often comes through battles fought with focus. Heaven takes note when you silence the world to hear God's whisper. God values hearts that remain undistracted in devotion. It's easy to talk about faith, but not everyone chooses to live it when distractions appear. The world offers glittering opportunities that appeal to pride, pleasure, and position, yet the chosen ones see beyond the surface. They know that not every shining thing is divine. When you prioritize God, you filter life through His wisdom, and that keeps you safe from deception. Heaven rewards those who resist the pull of instant gratification, because that resistance is proof of spiritual strength. The angels are drawn to those who walk in focus and humility, those who choose purpose over popularity and presence over pressure. When you put God first, you realign the flow of your life with divine timing. Everything that was delayed or distorted begins to find its place. You can't expect divine order while living in worldly chaos. Prioritizing God is what restores balance to your spirit, mind, and destiny. Heaven rewards that order because it shows trust. It says, "God, I believe you are my source, not the world." And when you live that truth daily, supernatural peace begins to cover you. The chosen ones live with this awareness. They know that God is not just part of their life, He is their life. That's why they are guided differently, protected differently, and blessed differently. The greatest test for every believer is not in crisis, it's in comfort. When things are peaceful, when success grows, when attention increases, will you still put God first? Many people lose their focus not in pain, but in plenty. That's why heaven watches how you handle peace as closely as how you handle pressure. When you continue to seek God in both, you prove that your love is genuine. The chosen ones are tested in seasons of abundance to see if they will still bow before the throne of the one who gave it all. And when they do, heaven rewards them with even greater wisdom, favor, and endurance. Distractions are not always obvious, sometimes they come disguised as opportunities. The enemy knows that what he cannot destroy, he will try to distract. That's why every time you turn away from temptation, delay gratification, or choose prayer over pleasure, you are building spiritual strength. Heaven celebrates that level of focus because it shows discipline born from devotion. Every distraction you overcome becomes a testimony of your growth. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. God looks at your effort, your consistency, and your hunger for Him. Even when you stumble, your heart's direction toward Him keeps His presence near you. Heaven's rewards are not limited to material blessings. When you prioritize God, He rewards you with discernment, peace, protection, and supernatural favor. You begin to notice that what others chase starts to come to you effortlessly. That's because divine alignment attracts what you're meant to have without you needing to strive. When your spirit stays centered on God, everything you need is drawn toward you in perfect timing. The chosen ones live in that flow of grace, where struggle turns into strategy and waiting turns into preparation. Prioritizing God rewires your reality. It allows you to live with divine efficiency, where nothing is wasted and everything serves a purpose. There is a reason why the most powerful servants of God live in quiet focus. They understand that attention is a sacred currency. Wherever you spend it determines your outcomes. When you spend it on God, He multiplies it in wisdom, guidance, and protection. Heaven rewards that investment abundantly. This is why the chosen ones often experience supernatural favor that cannot be explained by logic. It's not luck, it's the return of divine priority. They've learned that to walk with God is to rise above distraction, to see beyond the temporary, and to trust beyond understanding. Heaven doesn't measure success the way the world does. It doesn't count followers, fame, or fortune. It measures focus, faithfulness, and obedience. When you prioritize God, you're telling the universe that your value system is different. You're living for eternity, not applause. The chosen ones walk this path knowing that their unseen sacrifices build eternal rewards. Every morning they rise with a mindset that says, God first, everything else after. And that single choice, repeated daily, becomes the reason heaven continues to pour out blessings in ways the world cannot comprehend. Putting God first isn't a one-time act, it's a lifestyle. It means choosing His presence before performance, His peace before pressure, His purpose before pleasure. It means walking away from things that glitter but don't glorify. Heaven rewards this unwavering focus with divine clarity and spiritual authority. The more you prioritize Him, the less the world can shake you. You stop chasing things because you realize the only thing worth pursuing is His will. And when you live that way, heaven doesn't just bless you, it begins to work through you. The chosen ones become vessels of divine order in a world consumed by distraction, proof that those who put God above all else will always walk under the open favor of heaven.